Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday, and we actually just dropped a thought piece this past week, so definitely be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you're looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we've provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is mental health. And on the conversation around mental health today, I wanted to talk about pain. And I think that this is a great opportunity to have this conversation around pain, around sadness, because I think a lot of the times we like to fit everything into these very neat little boxes, and it becomes really hard to deal with pain that is uncategorized. And I am someone who believes that not all of the pain that we carry is pain that has a specific memory or a specific tag attached to it. I think some of us have inherited pain. I think that when we think about generational trauma, when we think about cycles of trauma and the way that pain can be etched into our DNA, it can be something that we carry physically without necessarily having a narrative around it. And I think sometimes it becomes really hard for us to address our pain in healthy ways when we need to find a narrative to our pain. I believe that there's so much about our human existence that is beyond language, but I think we're so language focused, we're so focused on the signified, the signifiers, and the signs that we use to communicate and relay messages that we forget that there are other ways of communication and other ways of listening and being attentive and being aware of what's going on that is beyond language. And I think pain is one of those very interesting manifestations. It's one of those interesting phenomena that is beyond the realm of language in many cases. And even in and of itself, pain is meta as well as physical, right? We can have meta pain, we can feel emotional pain as though it is physical. And we feel physical pain sometimes without having there be like a physical interaction that has manifested pain. Like if you think about people who experience chronic pain, that pain is much to do with receptors in their brain, like sending out messages of pain throughout the body without the body necessarily having come into contact with something that would warrant a pain response. So I think when we think about just the complexity of pain in and of itself, even outside of the scope of emotional pain, we recognize that there's a lot of depth there to be considered. And I think that what I've learned personally is that so many of the emotions that I release, that I experience, are beyond a narrative, right? If it is the case that I'm targeting having an emotional release, so releasing pain and trauma out of my body, because I do a lot of psychosomatic work, so a lot of what I consider to be healing that supports me emotionally without the use of language. I'm really about that because I personally feel that a lot of the trauma that I have unpacked in my life, a lot of it is definitely tagged to memories, episodic, semantic memories that I have, but a lot of it is also nonverbal. I've realized that there's some trauma that I'm carrying that is beyond me. I experience, a difference when it is the case that I'm having an emotional release, if I'm doing yin yoga or different psychosomatic exercises that helps release the muscle tissue, because we often carry pain in our myofascia, which are the connective tissues in our muscles, and it gets stored there and it becomes like the stagnant energy. And when you release that, there are many times where you have a stretch or you move in a certain way and then you just have this emotional response to it. And it's just like letting it go, like letting that emotion out of your body. And there are times where we let emotions go that don't have a story that we can verbalize or we can visualize. And I think that those are the most deep and beautiful releases that I've experienced, because I recognize that it's something older than me that I've been carrying that I won't pass on. And so I wanted to have this conversation because I think sometimes when we think about mental health, we think about it so rigidly. We think about it within the confines of the constructs and the institutions that speak to and cater to mental health. But mental health is beyond the infrastructure that we've built around it. Mental health was something that people thought of and considered before we had mental health professionals. It's something that there's so much rhetoric and rhyme and reason on that is beyond the scope and realm of science that we've forgotten. And I think that a lot of my personal journey and my healing journey and my journey towards self-discovery has helped me recognize that a lot of what it is that I carry is just waiting to be released, right? It doesn't want to be passed on. I think that when we think about cycles, when we think about generational trauma, think about it as pain, right? There's like these painful experiences that, the people before us had while they were carrying us in some way, shape, or form. And so we're here and we have the choice. We can either carry it forward or we can let it go. We can release it. And I think that it's just important that I come on here talking about mental health, letting you know that you can release pain without giving it a name. You can release pain without needing to have a story assigned to it. I think there's pain within us that doesn't necessarily need to be prescribed to language to be valid. And I think that that's the underlying message here. Sometimes what we struggle with, when we don't understand why it is that we're struggling with it, it's the thing that requires release so it doesn't continue to get passed down in our bloodline. And so I guess this is more of a spiritual than a tangible conversation around mental health. A lot of the times I try to be more pragmatic and more tactical in my conversations around mental health, like more like exercise or more like cognitive behavioral focus. And a lot of that involves language and conversations and this conversation in and of itself. But I think that this is really me trying to build the argument for looking within, finding the alignment within and recognizing that you can find alignment beyond language. You can find alignment in stillness. You can find alignment in getting to know yourself mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and giving yourself permission to let it go, right? Let the pain go, whether it's emotional pain, spiritual pain, physical pain that you're experiencing in a chronic way. That is a seeking acknowledgement, and I think we can acknowledge pain without subscribing it to language. I think there's certain pain that can't be deduced to language. It's an experience that only we have and that only we have the power to release from ourselves and again from the people who will come after us. So I thought that was an important conversation to have. I think it's like a deep philosophical conversation that I don't often get to have with many people. So I'm happy to have the conversation here on my platform because I do believe that releasing pain is such a cathartic experience. It's a deeply profound experience and an opportunity to really feel that self-love, because going through the steps of releasing pain can be painful in and of itself, but it's the reward you give yourself and it's the reward that keeps on giving. So that's the conversation for today, but definitely not all. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops largely focused on self-mastery ministry over and above those live events. And really consider joining our community. So we're a community of game changers, our hashtag game changing community, because we're focused on being the change that we want to see, right? And I would love to have a small role to play in your journey. So join the movement, be part of the conversations, provide your tidbits, your feedback. Would love to hear your input on pain and how pain and mental health are interrelated, and some of the juxtapositions that you've experienced on your journey towards mental healthiness, and how you've addressed and approached and build values around pain that supports you on sustaining and maintaining your sense of mental health. So thank you all again for tuning in. We're on the road to 1K, and I invite you to definitely check us out, follow us across all of our social media platforms, and I look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.